Hello and welcome to another Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele, and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to jump right into the week in Bryan because there's a lot going on. Personally, by the way, I apologize if there is a light hum in the back of the video. I've got a heater running because here in Indiana it is crazy cold right now. And I forgot to leave my heater on last night, so when I got into the studio this morning, it was frozen in here. So I've got my heater running now, and you might be able to pick that up in the background. Hopefully my microphone setup is good enough and advanced enough to cut that noise out, but who knows. I just want to apologize if you do hear a weird noise. It's not you, it's me. All right, week in Bryan. Personal wise, the tennis elbow is almost better. Like I'm feeling I can make the fist, making really close up fist. I can make fists and it only barely hurts through here. So hopefully start being able to get back to the gym here pretty soon. On the regs. I'm still going once a week right now just to keep in the habit, so I don't want to fall completely out of the habit. But I'd like to get back to it more, just because I need to, is really what it comes down to. Apart from that, personal wise, the dog's doing well, family's doing well. We're fine. We're out of the holidays, so now it's back to, just the regular quote unquote grind. Yeah, so pretty cool, I guess. No bad news. As we speak, I have a lot of friends that are currently dealing with the wildfires in California. My love and heart goes out to them. I have checked in with several of my closer friends that are there, just to make sure that everything's okay. If they need to be evacuated, they have been. But it's a very scary situation. And if you know anyone in that area, in the Southern California area, please go check on them, find out how they're doing, and if you are the kind of person that can potentially donate to the firemen and things there, please do so. They need a lot of help. Speaking of donations, you all know, that we love here on the channel to get random presents from the viewers, whether it comes off of the Amazon wish list that I posted up into the comments, or if it is just something random that I might have mentioned. Well, I have obviously mentioned that I'm back into playing Magic with my friends because somebody, I don't know who it was, sent me this cool little Bloomburrow tin from Magic. It's got an adorable little otter and frog. It looks like they're professing their love to each other. I think they're a loving couple, and they're sailing down a swamp river with their little magical boat, and I think that that's great. But it came with a couple of promo cards and a handful of booster packs. I don't know if it was the stuff that actually was supposed to be in the tin, but it was cool. And for the person who sent it, thank you very much. I try not to name names here because I don't want to. I don't want to call anybody out or anything like that for doing something. I don't know. I'm weird about calling out names. So, but the person who sent it, obviously you're a subscriber or somebody who watches the show, so you're seeing it, and I'm saying thank you. Thank you very much for the little thing that brightened my day a couple of days ago. Speaking of brightening the day, where was I going with that? Brightening the day, talking about the thing. Yes, another personal little tick in the box. It's related to work, but he's been my friend far longer than he's been my colleague. My buddy Nathan over at Point One Games Big congratulations to the birth of his second child, his daughter. So big congratulations to Nathan and Nina for the birth of their wonderful child, Valora. I will always call her Val, I'm sure. But gorgeous and wonderful, and I'm glad that everybody is doing well and healthy. So congrats to you guys. So hobby, I've done nothing. I came to a very stark realization the other day that my hobby time has got to be used putting together Tinker Turf terrain for Adepticon. Adepticon is a little over around 80 days away, give or take, and I've got a convention smack dab in the middle of that. So I need, or two conventions, I think. But either way, I've got to start getting some of that stuff slapped together. I mean, some of it already has been. I'm already about a third of the way through it, but I'm rapidly running out of time, and I need to devote myself a couple of days of just sitting there and gluing is really what it comes down to. It's a process, and I'm very good at like the repetitive rote nature of some of those objects because I've done them so many times. But I just need to give myself one of these weekends where I've got like a day slotted to do some other work type thing. I need to kind of bump that off and just focus on getting that out the door. Game wise, been playing some Magic, and we also I have gotten myself into. I told myself I wouldn't, but I did. I started playing Marvel Rivals on Xbox. It's Overwatch. I mean, like it's a cleaned up version of Overwatch with the characters that you recognize from comic books. So it's fun. It still has that new car smell right now for me, so I'm enjoying just kind of learning the different characters and learning new things. I think that I would have more fun if I knew I was playing with friends and not just randos on the internet. But all that being said, I don't expect that it's going to be like my number one favorite game anytime soon, but I am enjoying it. So I've been playing a lot of that. I played a bunch of Diablo last night with my good friend Bryan Steele. It's just been a lot of video games, not a lot of non-work related gaming. We'll get into that in work stuff. I know that I was supposed to play Rifts this weekend, but it got bumped to the weekend after. And I also, I think not this weekend, but maybe it's either this upcoming weekend or the weekend after. I've got my Drunk Monk D&D game down in Indy that I'll get to go to, that I'm super excited about because we haven't played in a long time. So just I've got a lot of gaming on the horizon, so to speak. Apart from that, a lot of everything else, as a lot of times it's work. It's work time. I finished all the red lines and writing adjustments to Night Court, my last Shadowrun book. Not last as in final, but last as in the most recent manuscript, which means that is now off to the editor-in-chief for him to ratify everything and get it into, print and production and layout and stuff. So that should be super cool. More on that when the book comes out, I suppose. Or when the marketing chain starts to become evident for it. So I'm back to working on the World of Shadows novel. Speaking of the World of Shadows, I know very, very soon season 2 is going to come out. I did put the link in for you to go and watch season 1 before season 2 comes out, so you're kind of brought up on the story and some of the interpersonal relationships involved. I really think I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope that you guys give the folks over at Six Sides of Gaming the love and kudos during World of Shadows Season 2 when that goes live. I'll let you know when the first episode drops, and I know that they are spacing them out basically one episode a week. But I want to say it might be next week might be the first episode, but I don't know. So don't quote me on that. Don't clip it and send it to them and be like, Bryan said. So yeah, Shadowrun stuff's going well. I need to go in and throw some words down on the 0.1 stuff for the World of Drashar. I have some very cool ideas. I just need to find the time and the bandwidth to throw the words onto the page, because I know there's going to be some very cool stuff there. Waiting on roughly what... There's a bunch of different things we could be doing for Evil Dead 2, but we are kind of... Not at a standstill. That's not the right word. We're in the planning stages to figure out exactly what each person on the team is going to be diving into. But there's been a lot of chatter about, let's do this, let's do that. I think that would be a cool idea. Maybe we should do it this way. So there's still a lot of planning stages for some of that book, which I can't wait to get to diving in on that too. That's going to be super fun. Warzone, I'm going to save. I'm not going to save Warzone to last, but I'm going to save Warzone for until a couple of minutes from now. Work on Xeogenesis continues. I've been doing a lot of testing of the two initial launch armies, and I like what they're bringing to the table. They are very solidly, probably by design, opposed to one another. Like, one of their weaknesses can be exploited by the other, but a lot of their weapons automatically kind of trigger the defense mechanism of the other force. It's neat how they're setting things up. I'm probably this week, if all goes well, when I get the playtest guys together, I am planning on testing out one of the newer factions, the previously unreleased factions, to see how they stack up against the ones that are a little more tested. So we'll get a glimpse at what at least what the third faction is. Does it? Its design, by nature, its design is different than the first two. Like, it doesn't. It actually feels different. Same game, but it feels different how you do things. And sometimes when you branch out like that in a design in a design atmosphere, you don't break the game, but you break the feel of the game. One of my biggest highlights of that is the addition of vehicles to Necromunda. So when they brought out the Ash Wastes book, and it kind of brought a Gorka Morka-esque, here's how to play Necromunda, but in a much more open area with buggies and trucks, and it was cool. Like, nonetheless, it was a neat idea, and it functions, but it doesn't feel like Necromunda anymore. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about bringing in some of the new concepts to these other factions will make the game feel less like that initial Xeogenesis investment. So I think that's what I'm focusing on right now, is to really make sure that the new stuff, while it's interesting and different and unique, is not so much so that it feels like they completely wonk up the game. Now we can talk about Warzone. So Warzone is going fantastically. Playtesting proceeds as planned and doing well on the new stuff, but we are dreadfully close to being able to start shipping things out. Both fulfillment and the tournament kits. So I've got word from the whatchamacallit guy, the layout guy. I got word from him. Here's no second box. I got the word from the graphics and layout guy that he is almost ready to set me up with the final files. And once I have those, I will be filling up flash drives, throwing them in those envelopes, and then sending them in the mail. So we are really close for that to happen. And then as far as the actual fulfillment for backers and retailers, that process should begin very, very shortly. Alex put a message out to all the backers that they need to be watching their email to verify their addresses for the purposes of the shipping bump, because the preamble to the process has begun. At this point, we're literally just waiting for the printed rule book to show up, and then we can start stuffing bags and boxes, and start getting stuff out to the public. Super happy on that. Also, speaking of product, I'll talk more about this in 2 weeks when I do my episode 266 of Tales from a Professional Nerd will be devoted, apart from the Week in Bryan, it will be devoted to the Warzone, basically walking everyone through the Warzone Eternal Champions tournament for Adepticon. And the reason why we're doing that so far ahead is because it's going to be roughly the 60-day mark before the tournament, and that's going to give everybody a chance to listen to what I have to say, start planning a little bit on what they're going to be putting together, what they're going to have ready, or if it's someone who maybe didn't get a chance to get into the backer or into the Kickstarter campaign as a backer, that either when the web store opens up or when at Adepticon itself, they can come to the Resnova booth and grab their models, get them glued together, and get them ready to compete on Saturday. So I wanted to get that information out there, and then obviously when that video is done and out for the world, we'll put it on all the socials, so that way it is available for all the people who are going to Adepticon who may want to get involved with the fabulous Eternal Champions system. Tournament. Warzone is the system. Oof. It is early here, and I'm still kind of cold. Yeah, so between playtesting and getting everything ready to start shipping out for Warzone, just excited. Alex and I had a really, really cool meeting a couple of days ago talking about how some of the stuff that's being playtested will function, because there's a few things that while as designers we are happy with, the playtesters keep coming back around saying that it's a hiccup, and while a playtester, playtesters are not necessarily, they put a lot of opinion in how they see things, and they don't necessarily see the whole picture. It is always worth noting when a playtester kind of raises their hand about something, because it could be something that is indicative of a larger issue. And so Alex and I had to have some talk about a little bit of the stuff going on, whether or not, is it actually problematic, or is it just a lack of additional information, or is it something that maybe can just be cleaned up and made a little clearer? And so we had our little chit chat, and probably shortly after this video goes live, I will get that new information to the playtesters, or I might wait until next week, and then this weekend I might throw some of the stuff on the table with my playtest folk, and try and see whether or not it ever needs to actually go out to the playtest teams. So either way, Warzone's on the way. Super excited, and I cannot. I don't think I've been as excited for a launch, for a product launch, since like the Essence 20 stuff back at Renegade. Like, I'm excited. Super excited. Speaking of super excited, so Evil Genius, we have got a bunch of stuff coming to fruition. The Pacific Rim, Dominion of Iron, and the Jaeger Codex, and Kong Skull Island, Isle of the Damned, and Creature Codex. So those 4 products are all within days of being sent off to the printers. But we are so freaking close, which will also mean that once they get sent off the printers, we'll be able to take the print-ready PDF and alter it into a read-ready PDF for the backers. So we're getting super close to being able to get that stuff out as well. Working on an adventure right now, dealing with a crashed Martian saucer, and just released the beta document 2.0 for Intergalactic Heroes. Hopefully the last beta document before we start putting the manuscript together for the actual product. And so far so good. A couple of people have found a couple of, not bugs, but little weird things, little hiccups, and some language clear ups, and I threw in a little extra stuff from the manuscript into the beta document to spice it up a little bit. But it is shaping up to a really, really damn fine book. And I look forward to start receiving art assets for it and start getting it squared away. Start really putting it together and find that function. At the same time, we are putting together the Evil Genius Games Sidekick app. I will have more information on that, and I'll probably give you all a kind of a rundown on how it works and what it's all about and whatnot when it goes live. We are very close to it going live. It will be a very cool tool for anybody who's interested in everyday heroes, and cheap. There's a free level as far as like free access, just to be able to like look at some stuff, and then there's I want to say it's like $5 a month to do the access to all the various products and start earning credits toward buying products. So yeah, I think I'll more on that in the future, but I think that's going to be a fun launch. And people should have a good time with that. All right, let's change gears and talk about the topic of today. The topic of the day actually comes from I went to a playtest session for a different for a different game. And at the end of the game master went around the table and asked us playtesters how things went, like any comments, any notes. And I offered him and I can't even call it mine because it's not. I totally stole it from one of my dear friends. Thank you, Riley. I love you. And if I was a betting man, I'd say he probably stole it from someone else that he gamed with back in the day. But it is called the 5 questions, and I know that's not a original. It's a little on the nose, but there's no other better terminology for it, and it is a way for the game master to communicate with the players and the players to communicate with each other about how things are going with the game. It helps build connection, it helps build community within the game, and also allows the game master to get a little bit, kind of peek in on some of the things that the players are focusing on in order to make the game better and tailor it a little bit for them. Or maybe they all talk about something that's super cool. We know to add more of that. Let's just get into it. So the way it works is when I run a game, when I run a campaign, I view every session as an individual episode. Unless, of course, it ends. Not even then. It still ends on a to be continued. I try to make it so it is a narrative story arc. It's just in the beginning of a session. It might start with when last we met. The idea being of the kind of the Netflix previously on. There's a little bit of that, and then you play the game, and at the end of the game, there's the credits roll. And during the credits roll, so when the session has come to a close, whether it is a to be continued close because like you're mid combat or something big just happened, or dun dun dun, or a larger story arc close, no matter what, when you're watching a TV show, the credits end up having to roll. And during those credits, there's lots of shows that will have scenes from the show, or flashbacks, or storyboard moments, and all these sorts of things. And all of that stuff is designed from a media perspective to help keep the viewers attached to the show. One of those, the show is ending, but I want them to keep it fresh in their mind, and I want them to be excited for the next episode because it brings them back to the show. And I view it, basically it's a way for the showrunner, or the DM, if you will, to know, man, I've got nose itches like nobody's business. Sorry. I'm gonna take a drink. So it's a, in the case of a role-playing game, the showrunner or the DM, it gives them a chance to keep the players engaged and focus a little more on what's going on. So what I like to do, and some of this comes from previous versions, some of this is my own touch, maybe you'll take these questions and run with it yourself, is a lot of times during the credits roll, I try to have some moment that if there was a mysterious audience behind on the other side of the fourth wall of the game, that it would show them and the players, not the characters, but the players, show all of them something that begs them to stay involved. Whether it's the scene ends, credits roll, and we jump over to the bad guy sitting in his laboratory, picking out scrolls, and each scroll has one of the characters' names on it. It doesn't have to be completely fleshed out. It doesn't have to. It's just something to kind of whet the appetite. Oh my God, there's more story out there. This guy knows our names. The bad guy knows our names. Things like that. And then once I've done that little dun 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 moment, we then start going around the table and we answer the 5 questions. And that is these 5 questions are what I consider to be super important to keeping a solid table's engagement and helping that table grow as an individual gaming community. So the first question is easy. The first question is, or I shouldn't say easy. The first question is, what did the audience learn about your character? So it is this mysterious audience, or in the case of that player, the other players consist part of that audience, and then there's also this: if there was someone watching us play, what did they learn? And it can be something like, I've had players answer, well, the audience learned that Stevie McBob will not kill an unarmed prisoner. refuses that. Or it might be, the audience learned that when when no one's looking, Stevie McBob will absolutely steal from his friends. It's a way for that player to point out something that maybe they feel that the other players maybe they missed, maybe they didn't realize this is a facet of the character. As role players, we all love talking about our characters. It is a thing. We play these characters and we want the other players of the table, possibly around the world, we want these other players of this table to know all of the cool stuff, all of the neat things, all of the feelings and thoughts and backgrounds and all the stuff that we've built into this character. But we also know that we can't just sit there for an hour and go, well, exposition, exposition, exposition. So one of the ways that we do this is by having this mysterious audience, which the other players are also involved with, and we point out, this is what the audience may have learned about my character. Dun, dun, dun. And then you go around the table and everyone kind of reveals their thing. And there's normally a little bit of conversation. Somebody will say something and like another player will be like, oh yeah, I figured that was what was going on. It'll go back and forth. Again, all part of the process. The second question number 2, is what did the audience, or what did the character learn about the greater story, the plot? And this one can be a little harder because depending on the character, if the character doesn't really get involved, if you've got kind of an introverted player that doesn't really, or maybe a younger player or a player that's just focused there to get into combats and do stuff, you, as a game master, you might need to be have a little more leeway with the question, because somewhat, what did the character learn? The character learned that you can kill goblins with an axe. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's still that player, that is what they are enjoying focusing on, that is what they want their character to be focusing on. So there are no really wrong answers. I mean, yeah, obviously there can be, but you know what I mean. So this question is often like, well, you know what, my player learned that the prince is a vampire, or Stevie McBob had no idea that the sheriff was in league with the banditos. It's a way for the player to focus on what something from the character's perspective, so they're not just numbers on the page, but it's also a way for the game master to understand and be able to kind of look at how invested in this character are you? How are you thinking through them? How much do I need to realize for you in order to have those characters come to life at the table? So I love that question because it does it kind of forces you to get into the head of the character, but it is also a very good tool to help as a game master to listen to those answers and understand a little more about what's going on with the characters. Because again, as a game master, you're supposed to be the collective, narrative power. And if you don't know what's going on in everybody's narrative, then it's hard for you to do that kind of stuff. Not to mention, a lot of times that question will bring out some of the wants and needs of the character. Someone will be like, yeah, I had no idea. I'll go back to one of the earlier ones, Stevie McBob. Let's say Stevie McBob goes, yeah, he had no idea that dirty sheriff was in league with those filthy bandits. Okay, as a DM, I hear that message and I go, okay, I know that Stevie McBob feels somewhat betrayed by the sheriff. I know that he's got pretty strong feelings about the bandits and now kind of lumps the sheriff in with them. I know that if my next plot point that I've got built for the next session or whatever has to do with like the redemption of the sheriff, I might have to push that a little bit harder because my players have told me through the answering of these questions that they really don't dig this guy. And if I need him to be the hero, if I need him to have a redemption arc, or I shouldn't say need, I want him to have a redemption arc as a hero, I have to maybe work a little harder to undo some of the betray and lack of trust damage that's happened there. Or I need to adjust my story and realize that, no, the sheriff is probably going to end up staying a heel, and I need to find a new hero figure. So that question is very important because it allows me to understand what the characters, or what the players are thinking through their characters. Question number 3. Question number 3 is, what did you as a player learn? This is probably, in my opinion, the easiest question of all 5. And this has less to do with, I mean, it can be the narrative. It opens the doors. A lot of times if I've got new players at the table, this question is answered by stuff about the system. I didn't know that this spell did this. This session I learned that, magic gets past this barrier or whatever. It could even be just, I learned that we shouldn't try to put an hour-long lunch break in a 4-hour game session. It is literally just an open table discussion about something that the players have taken note of. And as a game master, that's one of the more helpful questions. Even though it's the easiest to answer, it's one of the most helpful questions because it lets me understand where my table is at, how close they're paying attention, and if something, something is maybe too weird and obtuse, or they weren't ready for it, I know going forward that I should maybe spend a little extra time explaining it, or if it is something that maybe a rule that we've been doing wrong for a very, very long time, but it's been working, then maybe it's time to, what the character learned was this rule isn't real and we shouldn't be doing this. Then maybe it's time to actually ratify that as a house rule for the game. It's a very important educational question. But it's also the easiest one to answer. It is also the one that you will sometimes get a very flat answer. I learned how spells work. Okay. That's fine. I learned that my character maybe isn't as powerful as my friends. Again, all good and useful information, but not necessarily as like thought-provoking as the others potentially. The 4th question is actually my favorite. It is my favorite question because it has evolved over time. Originally, the question was, what was your favorite moment? And it is a question that allowed a player to point out something rad during the game. It's easy as that. Just something that they really enjoyed. And it allows the player to voice an opinion to the DM of, hey, I liked this. The problem we had as the years moved on is that some players who are potentially a little less humble would always just make it about themselves. It'd be, I really loved when I saved the day. I loved it when you gave me that extra magic item. I loved it when I. And so we changed the question a little bit, or it's less of a question and more of a question-like moment, and that instead of it being what's your favorite moment, it is shine a spotlight. And I've used that term before when describing how role-playing arcs should work, but shining a spotlight basically means something that happens during the session. Please, imagine you are at a spotlight at a stage play, and you're going to be able to focus on a moment that has happened. And that was your favorite moment during the game. And the rule there, the shine a spotlight, is because you are shining a spotlight, it can't be on you. It can't be about you. It's about showing the other players around the table that you're paying attention to the stuff that they're doing, that you are appreciating their role play, and that maybe the things that it's rewarding them with that little serotonin bump of, I did a cool thing. because we all love that. We all love that around the table. Is we love when the other players appreciate something that we've done, or the game master appreciates what we've done as a player and as a character. So shining a spotlight allows me to go, you know what, I loved it when you haggled on this about this thing, or in that combat, you were on point and you saved the day, Stevie McBob, and it is a little bit of back patting sometimes. The oh well, he said something nice about me, maybe I'll say something nice about him, but it doesn't matter, because it's doing the job, and the job is to make people think, be present, and to make people think about the game that has just happened, the events that have happened, and the things that other people are doing. And so even if it does end up being a you scratch my back, I scratch yours during that process, it's still doing the job. It's focusing on other people. It's having that conversation around the table about the cool things that have happened. And that's why we do this to begin with, is to enjoy these cool things. And so that question is designed to help people see. There are players that maybe don't understand how cool the things that they do are. And so during that question, during the spotlight moment, is suddenly they do something, and if everybody at the table is basically going, yeah, dude, that was rad, that was awesome, that was super cool. You now know, not only are you helping the enjoyment to the table, but it allows one of your moments to shine. And we all love that. We all love that. Yeah, maybe not the extremely introverted player that doesn't that is like, no, I'm just here to roll dice. I don't want to be the center of attention. That's fine, but even that person can still get every once in a while I really like what you did there. That was cool, and it helped us at the table to do this thing, or to get into character, or to understand the severity of the plot. So I love that like I said, I love that question, because it helps keep the table tight. Now, the last question is actually a 2-part question, so it could be called 6 questions. The last question is name something that you liked and something that you didn't like about the game itself. And this is probably one of the most important moments of the question session, and the one where the GM is going to need to take some notes, because this is where the players get a chance to voice their, I didn't like that you house ruled this on the fly. I would have much rather known about that house rule ahead of time. I wouldn't have taken this spell, or something along those lines. And the reason why it's something you liked and something you didn't like is because you also don't want to turn it into a giant complaint session, because, as we all know, social media is they'll feed off each other. Is somebody will say something, oh yeah, I hated that too, and it turns into this big negative downer moment. So by turning it into a kind of a one pro, one con, is a way for it to stay a little clinical, stay about the game itself, or the session. I've had game sessions where someone's been like, all right, the thing that I liked, dude, the story was awesome. The narrative bump today was really cool. I love your big bad, that super cool big bad evil guy. The thing that I didn't like is starting at noon means we all get here and then we spend an hour eating. Can we start at 1 and go an hour later instead, and just have everyone eat lunch before the game? It's a way to be like, let's talk about it. This question is a conversation churner in order to keep people feeling open, like they can voice their opinions, And also, as a GM, it allows me to learn and get better about the table that I'm at. Every table's different. Even if you got the same players, sometimes each game is different. You never know. So it's nice to kind of have that constant back and forth. And we've said this before, communication at a role-playing table is always key. It is absolutely one of the biggest components to success or failure. And that question, that something you like, something you didn't like question, is absolutely one of the best tools you can have in the box to keep that dialogue moving and keep that discussion going, because the game is fresh in everybody's head. They've just come off of several other questions that have kind of refreshed their ideas of what has been going on during that session, and as a game master, I'm now looking to you as the players. Hey, help me make sure that this game stays awesome for everybody, and allows me to make note of things that everybody really. Let's say if you're going on the table and everybody says something really cool about this faction that in some capacity, a faction that got introduced, or I know that I might want to have more plot lines in the future dealing with that faction because the players really attached to it. They really liked it. Or if everybody around the table mentions, it's the thing that they don't like. This session was all combat. It was just dice, 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 dice. Well, then I know that maybe the next couple of sessions I need to back off a little bit, give my players a little more role play time, give them some more sleuthing, have a more narrative session or two to kind of take that taste out of their mouth before we throw them into another big bad combat. It's simply just a good tool to help hone the campaign that you're playing and hone the table community that you've created in order to better serve the game itself. Now, you will note that I didn't say better serve the story, because that is completely different. And there are some games the story is secondary. There's a lot of people out there that just enjoy playing hack and slash dungeon crawls, and that's absolutely fine. Your answers to those questions were completely different. It's why I didn't want to say that it serves the story, because it's not always. I mean, it can serve the story. It can serve the level of difficulty of your combats. This process, these 5 questions, are just designed. They were built up and developed and evolved through various hands. Again, thank you, Riley, to create a better communicative link between the game master and the players, and between the players and each other. It's just basically a way to strengthen all the communication on the table in the terms of that campaign and how it works and how the sessions should proceed. So I try to do that with every, obviously there's been game sessions where it ends because it ran a little late or whatever and everyone's just got to leave. Sometimes you don't get the questions in, but I do my best to try and have the 5 questions at the end during the credit roll of any of my episodes, any of my sessions. And now you know why. So please feel free to, take those questions, take them to your own tables, use them, abuse them, roll your own credits, and let us know what you think about the question system, and let us know how it if you end up using it, if you end up putting it in practice. Please, I really want to hear how this stuff goes. And I know from someone who's been using them for decades and been part of them through other game masters for decades, the concept of them possibly going out and being used across the world in other tables is just very, I think that's a very cool thing. And I'm excited to hear your thoughts on the questions and potentially your results using them. So stay tuned and put them in the comments below. Without further ado, I'm getting close to the time. We've gone through the 5 questions. We've done the weekend, Brian. I'm super jazzed about all the stuff that's coming out soon. More on that in the future. But until then, please, please, please be safe. Wash your hands, get your shots, wear a mask, stay warm. If you are in the California area, please pay attention to the evacuations. Give your friends and their pets and neighbors, as much shelter as you can. Help, and just really try and be safe out there, guys. The world is a pretty dangerous place sometimes. Just try and leave every room a little happier than when you got there, and a little happier and a little safer right now. My heart goes out to everybody dealing with their stuff. So until next week, please have a great time and play some games. See you next week, guys.